Welcome aboard again. Hello from Tech Buddy YouTube channel. Even though we are producing Turkish content for our YouTube channel, we have a couple of English videos, and one of which actually is another interview, junior developer interview. And the reason that we are doing today is also another junior interview. I'm not gonna call it junior, but it is sort of junior between junior media interview. Yeah, the reason we are here actually making a mock junior interview. This is not a real interview. I don't want to think you that it is an interview and there's going to be a result or something like that. But we are going to measure his skills. So Emirhan is over here as a candidate. I'm going to try to measure his skills as well as his communication methods, and also I will be interviewing him as we are just looking for mocking, by the way. We are just looking for a junior developer. I have his resume on the right hand side, and I'm going to say a couple of things by investigating his resume. After that, we will start our mocking interview, and then after interview is done, I'm just going to try to share my feedbacks with him. What point he could have been good, or just what point he needs to improve, or just what point he was very well. Um, we are also online on Discord right now, so if you want to follow our channel and also support our audience, and also you can just join our Discord channel, as well as you can subscribe this YouTube channel. So just to start, welcome Emirhan. Hello, how are you?
Hi, thanks. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Even though we both are Turkish, he wanted to be an interviewed in English. So the reason we are doing it in English is this. I have your application for our company, X company,
Yeah,
let's call it X. And we were just looking for a senior develop and junior developer. And I've seen your resume, and I must admit that I am impressed. It's because we seeing it over here is lots of skills that you have, but also it says that you are still going to university, Sakarya University.
I
Um,
yeah
yeah, would you introduce yourself for us firstly?
yeah. It will be better explanation. I'm Emirhan. I'm a senior student at Sakarya University, Industrial Engineering Department. But since the third year of the university, I realized that I liked software more, so I decided to make my career in software. Uh, I've been working in .NET Core for 2 years, and I've been working actively in a software company for 1.5 years. Uh, I've been very focused on learning new technologies and improving my technical and language skills in there.
Yeah,
I'm
I see
conduct
you.
yeah
Yeah, I see lots of skills under the skills section. And I also,
yeah
while I'm giving you feedback, I'm just going to say a couple of things related to your resume. But yeah, continue, please.
there are some I think there are some extra skills for a junior developer, but for example there are some microservices and some design patterns, but uh, I read some essays about them and make some exercise with them. I'm not an expert about design patterns or microservices, but I can make a slightly a project with them. So this is why I applied as a junior developer.
And that's also this is the reason that I said, okay, this is not a completely junior. It's because the skill section is full of skills. I thought that you have some experiences over those, but also seeing that you have only 1 year and a half experience. So I was skeptical at the first place when I see it. It's because 1.5 year experience, but lots of skills over here, and you just cleared it out by saying, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, I've just read them, and but not experienced in while you're working, I guess.
yeah. To be accurate, actually, for the 1.5 year, we were working on separate technologies in our company. I didn't learn microservices or design patterns in our company. I was working outside of the working hours to catch the uh, sector, right?
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, you are totally right. And for the audience of this video right now, actually, I must say that, okay, and while we are interviewing, I'm going to be taking some notes about to give him some feedbacks after. Um, and that's why I will be just focusing on another part of the screen. So if you catch me while I'm looking for somewhere else on the other screen or just the other side of the screen, don't judge me. I'm just making some notes, and as you will see. And today, what we are going to is that I'm going to give you a couple of questions, ask you a couple of questions related to, I call it verbal technical questions, just to measure and what do you do and how do you do. And also, we are going to, um, I will be giving you a piece of C sharp code, and also I'm going to ask you to, what do you see over here and what we can do for this code. It will be short, maybe 5-10 minutes. And also
Okay,
I will be giving you a really simple piece of function that you need to complete. I'm going to ask you to write a piece of code. So you may want to use your idea, whatever you're comfortable with.
okay, it's
um
already opened.
yes. So I've seen your resume, so we can put it over here, and let me just say, okay, and it is 2021 interview. Got it. It's making some notes. Can you just briefly describe what was the most significant project that you worked at your last job, and also what was the biggest challenge that you faced?
Yeah, the best exercise for me was related to implement an system for to customers give access to retrieve their e-statement for their it was a banking application, by the way, in abroad. I'm not gonna say the customer's name, but
Yeah.
it was a banking application, and a bank needs to apply a system that customers allows to retrieve their statements, for example, accounts or cards. So they are still took their statements as post. So we applied this system. They are now able to retrieve their statements by their emails. This was the best project that I worked on.
What sort of problems that you faced in this project, though?
Actually, I'm not sure, but it took some.
Was there any challenges
Yeah,
in?
just one thing, I guess. It was a quick project for me, but one thing, but I'm not sure the exact name, but it was related to the reference type, and I need to retrieve the customer's accounts, but I need to filter these accounts.
Mhm.
But it wasn't simple, as I said,
Ah, I see that. For
because
a junior developer.
yeah, for actually this is a very core system. It's a banking application, and accounts is a very huge domain. So it's hard to manipulate it. So I need to find a way to manipulate these accounts. So I learned something in there. It was copying the what was it? Copying the reference
Hmm.
and put it in a temp object. So I learned it in this
Cloning, maybe.
application.
You were cloning.
Yeah, but I'm not sure the method name.
Member-wise clone?
No, member-wise clone was not
Was it
true
was it
because
deep
I
was it
tried it.
deep copy or just shallow copy?
Shallow copy, yes. But member, sorry, what was the method name?
Shallow copy.
No, the other one, member-wise.
Member-wise clone.
Yeah, I tried it. I see it from Stack Overflow, but it didn't work in my code. So
So this was
get range, yeah, I remember now. Get range. I use get range method to make a shallow copy.
get range. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. I'm not quite sure that I'm familiar with that. So this was for the bank project that you were working for overseas banks, right?
Yes.
Um, so not in terms of coding skills, but also you're working with overseas banking. And what was the other challenges working with the company just overseas over there? Did you have any other problems?
Yeah, actually, there's so many cultural differences with the bank's okay, business side and technical side, and there are some language problems with them because they are from not their language is not natural for English, and I'm not also. So we had some challenges. We are constantly making some conversations, meetings, but sometimes it's hard to understand each other. But I've been working 1.5 years, so we made a system. Now we are doing good, actually.
It's nice. It's always nice to just see the differences of cultures
Yeah,
and
yeah.
differences
But
of
but
languages.
at the beginning, it was very hard to me. Yes.
So I believe while working for this bank, you are also developing some REST API project, as I've seen it in your resume. Am I correct?
Uh, no, actually, because we were using SOAP services in this bank, but I used REST APIs for another bank. It's in Turkey, not overseas. Yeah, I used REST API for local banks in here.
So you know both sides of the APIs, SOAP APIs and the REST APIs. So
Yeah, yeah.
which
Mhm.
one would you prefer and why?
Uh, I prefer REST APIs because it's better to understand. Because as you see, SOAP services are uh, using XML based structure, and it's required. So sometimes it's hard to review the request or response, and sometimes we are not able to understand the request and response, and we weren't able to prepare the request because we are not able to understand. It's hard, and sometimes it's getting so much time to retrieve the responses because some services are really really huge data, and because of the XML structures, data response time sometimes takes so much time. Uh, yeah,
So you prefer REST API over
yeah,
SOAP?
because outside of the working hours, as I said, I was working with my uh, own studies. Also, I was using REST APIs, and I like it more. JSON structure is better for me, I guess.
Do you think that SOAP XML API, SOAP API has more benefit or at least has more feature, or just a better feature, useful feature than any REST API features? So what is the advantage of using SOAP services?
I'm not sure actually. I was I used so much swap services, and sometimes I compared REST APIs and swap services. Most of the people say it's not better than the other. We cannot say swap is better or the REST is better, but when they compare them, always REST API has some better things, like it's much quicker, much understandable. But for me, I think I don't want to say SOAP is not
Worse.
good, but yeah, but when I check the companies who is using SOAP, and huge companies are still using the SOAP. So I think it's not worst structure or best. web service. I think there are some good points, but I'm not so much experienced in swap services, I guess, because as you know, we are working in a company, and uh, we are constantly repeating ourselves. Sometimes it's hard to develop ourselves. So yeah.
It's presumably it's mostly because of they've started this project for like years ago, while where we didn't have that much REST API and its features, and they started with its SOAP API and still using the SOAP. It is just like Java. So
Mm.
all the banks are started using Java years many years ago, and now today they are not able to switch the whole infrastructure to the another language, even though they like to. So the reason for SOAP API must be the same. I'm also seeing that you are using Git as file versioning system.
Actually, I am using it for my local studies. Yeah, I'm just checking in my codes.
Okay, what are the most common comments that you use for Git?
First commit, second commit.
So commit, push, and pull, is that all?
Yeah, yeah. I'm not familiar with Git so much because we are not using Git in our project, because this version control system and other things we are uh, when we start. As I said, I'm an industrial engineering student. So when I started to uh, coding, I learned it from some YouTube channels as TechBuddy and some other channels. So it's easy to use, but when we start working, it's getting complicated. So we are actually learning something in when we are working in a company. So we are not using a Git in our projects. I'm not saying that we are never using it, but in my project we are using a TFS, Azure TFS. So I'm not good at Git. I'm just checking in and pull push.
It's over the check in actually, or checking rather than pull. Yeah, I'm still using TFS and Git at the same time. Both are great actually. Um,
Yeah,
so the
I
next
would like to learn Git deeply. By the way,
it is now actually going over TFS and the other GitLab and the other competitors. Actually, Git is really having its position very well. The next question will be about layered application. I've seen it in your resume as well. Again, I prepared all the
yeah,
questions related to your resume. It's because in a normal world, if I really was looking for a junior or any developer, I would just interview, I mean, investigate your resume, and then if I believe that you are a really good fit for our position, I would just call you. So this is
oh, thank
actually why prepared all my question in terms of the content of your resume. So
you.
I'm
Okay.
I'm asking those related questions. So multi-layered application, what does it mean, and what are those layers?
Yeah. I can explain it from my studies, and I can explain it from our company's studies. So we used a very huge layered architecture in our company because it's a very huge application. It's been developing like 15 years because it's a banking application. So we used so much layers. What I mean layers, like we are separating the all layers, like entity layers and business layers, core layers, and at the same time we are using facade design pattern. So it's very separated. We are using the exact how can I say that we are I'm not gonna say. I think uh, okay. There
That's
are some layers like entities. This entity layer. is related to our database objects,
All
right?
right.
So we are keeping these codes in entity layer. So we have another layer as data access. In this layer, we are keeping the database operations.
Just
We
like
are our
repositories,
yes,
services.
our repositories, and keep the project consistent, persistent. And we have business layer to our business rules, make our business rules. And we have a web API layer, presentation layer,
Mhm.
our APIs and services. Yeah, this is layered architecture. There are some advantages actually using the
Yeah, the next
layered
question would be
architecture.
that actually. What is the advantage of
Yeah,
separating the layers?
yeah, I can explain it point by point, but
Just
loosely
briefly.
coupled. Okay, loosely coupled is an advantage. Uh, Reusability, uh, inheritance. No, inheritance is not. Yeah,
That's
it's an advantage, but not related to layered
that's enough
architecture.
actually for me for this question.
Okay.
And I'm going to ask another, it's not called multi-layered, but and what is DDD and when do you
Yeah,
use it? I've seen it in your resume again.
yeah. I meet DDD when I'm started to learn microservice architecture. DDD is a software development methodology. It's an approach to understand and modeling the concept of core business, huge complex domains. I mean, for example, we have an e-commerce application, and we have some uh, like we have some categories in e-commerce application, products or orders, payments, like mailings. These are the context of the application. So but the sum of the contexts are very complex, and it's need to be well designed for even developers and the business side, business stakeholders. So DDD is doing that with some keywords. There are some keywords, by the way, which is coming with the DDD.
What are
Uh,
those?
yeah, as I remember, the ubiquitous language. I'm not sure I pronounced
Yeah,
through what
ubiquitous language. Yeah.
ubiquitous
Yeah.
language. Yeah, and some entities, as I indicated in layered architecture, value objects, aggregates, and yeah,
An aggregate
but
route, the most
aggr-
common one.
yeah, and the bounded context. I think it's an best most important thing in DDD case, I think bounded context and the ubiquitous language, because we are facing some issues as a developer, because we sometimes we are not able to understand the business stakeholders, what their request, what are their main, because as I said, some complex application, complex domains need to be understood and modeled well. So I think everybody should talk the same language. In this way, everything will be better for the process of the application development.
That's the most important part of DDD actually. But do you think that we can use DDD for every project?
No, I think it's gonna be our engineering,
Nice.
because it's hard to implement. So I think I read some essays from Microsoft's site, and I learned the architecture of microservice, and they uh, applied the DDD in order service. So I saw that, and I think we don't need to use the DDD for category service. because it's a simple service. We don't need to over engineer. But order is a very, very complex domain, and yeah, there are some transactions in there, and it's hard to manage the transactions.
So, yeah, you're right. Actually, it is mostly used in very complex project, very complex domain, not the project though. It's because it brings more complications in your project, but also has pros, so advantages though. But you're right. You're totally right. And I also see that you know and SQL and SQL servers, SQL Server you've worked on. And have you created any kind of functions or the stored procedure on SQL Server?
SQL Server.
Yeah, the database.
Ah,
Uh,
okay.
or
SQL Server. Sorry.
I mean, yeah, SQL or SQL. So
Sorry. Yeah, I used SQL Server from my studies actually, and we are using the same database in our company. But in case, in terms of our projects, I'm not DBA, but I can use my works from SQL. Uh, Sometimes it's hard to manipulate these tables to retrieve our expectations. In this time, I understand the issue, so I can research it and learn it. But basically, I am very good at selecting tables.
who is not? We all are. Do you know the language? So, for example, if you are using PostgreSQL and there is another programming language for it, so
Yeah,
PGSQL.
they are mostly common, by the way. PostgreSQL, MySQL, they are mostly common, but there are some differences.
Yeah, this select and insert and delete and the other parts are okay. So this is mostly common. There are
Mhm.
maybe just syntax changes, but also those DB databases have their own language. For example, it is PLSQL for Oracle and PGSQL for PostgreSQL. Do you know what it is for MSSQL?
No, no, I've never heard of that.
So it is Transact SQL. It is called T-SQL.
Yeah,
So it is
yeah,
the
yeah,
it is
I
the
heard that.
programming language in SQL Server where you can find and use all the other features of the database. So this is the end of the verbal technical questions, and now I'm going to give you a screenshot. So can you open the candidate document that I shared with you,
Okay,
and can you share your screen? Uh, right, we all are now seeing your screen. I'm now going to paste photo over here and just make it a little big for you and for the others as well. Can you just increase the size of the window or just the on the left hand side? On the left hand side, you see 100% zoom over there. Yeah. Can you make it 15 or something? And you can zoom out from your no 100% is okay. Can you just press Control 0? It's because Control 0. Yeah, now you can just increase it to 150 again. Yeah. So and this is get bank data async method, and we also have process bank data async just underneath. And if you go down a bit, so this is the process bank data async, which calls the get bank data async function.
mhm.
um I'm just going to ask you, what do you see here, and do you see any room for improvements? So if I gave you this code and would like to I if I ask you to optimize it, what would you consider to change, and how would you change it?
Okay. Let me firstly review the code.
Yeah, sure.
There's a static method that returns asynchron list string. We are retrieving the bank datas, and we are putting a parameter bank ID. At the beginning, bank data is null. in try catch block, we will call the service here, I guess. Bank data equals new list string.
Yeah, the bank data and the await
Yeah,
part
we
is
are
just
creating
basically
an
pretending
object
that we are
here.
calling data from database
Uh,
or somewhere. You can ignore
yeah,
it.
okay. We are putting a second in here. If bank data ID equals 123, bank data at bank, bank data at bank ID. Okay.
And we have
Here, there's an if situation here. If bank ID equals 123, uh, we will gonna add the string to bank data here. If it's not, we will always add bank ID.
mhm.
If we have an issue on this process, we will write the console an error occurred and the error message, and then if we don't face an issue, we will return the bank data.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward method.
Yeah. Here, process bank data, await get bank data async.
But
Okay,
the other
yeah,
function,
I thought we will call this method here, but it's
it's
opposite.
it's
Okay,
being yeah, it's being called by process data.
yes. Okay, we are calling the method here. Then we are going to add
Datetime.
datetime, right? Bank Okay.
So what would you
Uh,
change and how would you change it? I'm not going to ask you to change it right now, so I'm just asking. Let's talk about it.
okay. Uh, I'm thinking that I will call, first of all, I will call process bank data async method,
Hmm.
and I will put, for example, 5 or 123 here. Uh, I will retrieve the bank data as bank Deniz Bank here. Then I will add this one date time. Then bank data were exchanged. Uh, I think this third one it's unnecessary
Why so?
because in the first time bank data is empty. So first row we are gonna add Deniz Bank to the list.
Hmm.
Then uh,
It's
okay, then we are going to add the date time. And in this case, we have two values in bank data. Then we are manipulating it with where condition, where list item equals nulls. We will,
it's unnecessary, you say. All right.
yeah, there is no null values because
So in any
we are
case,
not, we are
in
not,
any case, we are going to have a data. It's because it says if or else. So
we are not returning null anywhere in this method. So we will not face any null value in this list, I guess.
yeah, but what? Yeah, okay. What if we got try catch block and we got any exception while maybe on
Okay, okay, yeah.
what else would you change?
Okay. Okay, the third row, because we are defining bank data with manipulating it, because bank data is a reference type. We
Hmm.
don't need to do this raw when we
All right, let me ask you another
when we
question. So you see daytime now, we are adding it. So would you consider changing daytime now? Maybe would you, yeah, just use something else, just like UTC now, or just would you consider, so as you're already working with overseas banking, so the daytime is and the
okay,
daytime
maybe I can make a localization in here to get the correct dates of for example, the Deniz Bank is the local bank in our
country.
country. Audi is overseas. So when we retrieve these datas, I will face some inconsistent datas here, because I will add datetime nokta. When I set this one, the second one, datetime nokta now, it will add as Turkish time.
Or the current computer daytime, but
Yeah,
but
yeah.
what we are looking for is the general daytime. Maybe the daytime is just Greenwich daytime. Maybe we can use the GMTs or just the UTC for daytime class. You might just consider using daytime now, UTC now, not now. Maybe daytime period
Uh,
UTC now. It just gives you the
yeah,
GMT zero,
I
and
can add. Sorry.
that's all right. And what else would you just
Yeah,
change in the another function though? So in what was it? Get
this one.
bank data, yeah. What would you change here? So for example, do you think that this function does only one thing?
Uh, it's when I first read this, I said to myself, it's not solid.
So it's not good for the solid principles.
Yeah.
What principle it is against to?
This is not doing just bank's data. This method should uh, retrieve the bank's data, because it's waiting for bank ID.
Mhm.
So I just need to call the service with bank ID and just need to retrieve the bank's data. But I am doing a control in here. Uh,
So
it's not true,
yeah,
I
so
guess.
so it is breaking the single responsibility
Yeah,
principle, you say. It's
yeah.
because
I can rewrite some method for bank ID.
yeah, makes sense. So maybe one method for getting the data from another service, and the other one is just making the changes and returning the bank data.
Yeah.
And what else would you just change? So do you think
Okay.
this it is just catching the exception part correctly, or just is it enough? So the error, do you think the error handling is enough over here?
Uh, no, it's not, because in this case we will not able to understand which step error occurred, because of not being a solid this method. Maybe we faced error in this one or this one. We are not sure. Maybe Deniz Bank servers is not working down, or Bank Audi is breakdown, but we are not able to understand which one is breakdown, or which one is facing error right now.
Yeah, you're right. At what stage we get the exception, we don't know. And also, we are just logging the error and not throwing it again. So it
Yeah,
it must be known out of this function's
yeah. Because
context.
after writing the console, we will return the bank data.
Yeah. Um, all right. So now you can. This is, by the way, I'm done with this question. And can you just open one of the ID you feel comfortable with, I'm going to ask you write a question. I mean, write a piece of C# code or just any other language. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
And all right, can you just zoom it a bit in? Zoom in. Nice. What I'm going to ask you is that can you write me a function that accepts an array of integer and finds the greatest element in it and return it.
Hold on.
Integer array it accepts and find the largest or the biggest or the highest item in it. An integer array and find the highest number in it.
uh, okay. For example,
It needs the
okay.
it needs to return the highest number in this array.
Okay, yes. Uh, yeah, there are much ways. Maybe I can return. I can, uh, for example, I can type for each. Okay, there are so many ways to do it, but I need to choose one of them.
Yeah, choose one.
Uh, yeah, I just wanna try something. Is there any method that's find the highest number?
Yeah,
Maybe.
there is in LinQ that it's called max, so it's going to give you the maximum number, but I'm going to ask you not to use any LinQ functions.
Okay. Maybe here. Uh, the highest number will be 0 the first time. Uh, for each, I don't know the length of the array, so I'm using for each. Now I have an error here, array here, num arrays. Maybe it's there are some 6,
N-
but I need to define an array.
It doesn't matter. You don't need to call. We are just writing the function returns the highest. You don't need to call it.
Okay, but the first time it will be
Let's
okay.
assume we have 3 or 5 or 6. It doesn't matter how long.
Yeah. Uh, I can use sorting algorithms.
It, it's yeah, it's not that complicated though.
Yeah, but I'm a little bit excited, so I'm very
You feel comfortable, so you don't need to get excited.
yeah.
So I'm just basically asking you finding the number. So the most common way is just assuming the first item is the highest and compare it with the other elements.
Yeah.
If the item in the array is higher than your variable, and it is just going to give us the highest probably. So this is the most common way.
Yeah.
So you already defined your variable called highest.
I'm not sure why it's.
You can delete that int 32 part and make it just int.
Okay. I'll type for loop here.
All right,
Uh, this is index.
all right.
Index starting at 0. I will go uh,
All the items.
throughout all the items. Then index will be increased one by one. Then uh,
Then you're going to compare it with the
uh,
highest already you have.
if sorry, it's not index, it's e.
I. So now what are you gonna do? What are you going to compare with?
I need to uh, numerate. Num erase. I'm very excited.
Yeah, no worry. Just take your time.
It's okay. I'm gonna start with 0. Num erase first index uh, higher than num erase.
So you define an highest
Uh,
variable. Are you going to use it somewhere? The highest variable.
yeah, I will use. Okay. Can I here just to see the values?
Right.
Okay, I will start. I will. I'm checking the if this one higher than this one. In this case, highest equals this one. Then this one with this one. I can compare it with highest.
Hmm.
Okay, in this case, I will start with 0. Is 0 higher than, sorry, 2? Is 2 higher than 0? Yeah, highest will be 2. Then I will check this one. This one higher than 2. Yes, then the highest will be this one. Then this one and this one. Okay, then I will return highest. Uh,
Yeah, this is nice. This is enough. It's actually because I can confirm that this is going to find the highest one. Although you can do a couple of improvements, just like you can assign the zero index of num arrays into highest, and you can start checking by just not from zero but one. So instead of integer highest zero, you could just say num arrays zero. It's because not just one line above.
uh,
So you
Uh,
you could you could assume that the first element of the item array is the highest already, and you can
yeah,
compare the rest with that.
yeah, this one, right?
Yeah, for that one, first item is the highest you are assuming, and then you are
Yeah.
comparing it. So instead of starting the I with from zero, you could just make it one. So yeah, this would be returning the highest element in the array. But now I'm going to ask you to not the highest, but the second highest. So
Uh,
yeah, you
okay.
need to rewrite the function to find not the highest, but the second highest element. So the same function.
Okay, I will change this function.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Yeah.
please.
Uh,
You've already found the highest one, and now we are looking for the second highest.
okay. Uh, when I looping in this one,
Right? Makes sense. Creating another, using another variable to store it. And if the highest is zero already, can it be also the second highest?
yes.
So
It at the beginning.
yeah, but
Starting.
maybe you may just make it one. It's because if the first element is the highest already, it cannot be second highest, right? So you could assume
Uh,
that it is going to be the
okay.
next one.
Mhm. Okay. In this case, this will be the second highest. So I will start looping and I will find this one.
And
Okay, how can I make an algorithm here?
you already you already have the if condition to find the highest.
Yeah,
Mm,
maybe I can type here else. If num array e index is not higher than highest, be here. I just gonna review here. This one higher than, okay, this one the higher. Then I'm checking with that. This one higher than this. Yes, this is the highest. Then I will check this one. Sorry, this one. Is this one higher than this? No. Then I will check this one. But uh, maybe it should be like this. In this case, it will not work.
yeah, it's not going to be the second one.
Yeah, this easy questions makes me angry.
This is a tricky question. That's the reason,
Ye-
actually.
Uh, okay, I need to think.
Last 3 minutes, by the way, in our interview.
Okay,
Uh, take your time. You don't need to panic. You don't need to complete the question, at least. You can just think on that. It's not that easy question.
I can't use link, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. You should not.
okay.
So do you need, so you check if the number, the EI is, you're checking I is greater than highest. Are you going to check if the I is greater than the second highest? So you define the second highest variable, but you never compare it with something else.
Yeah, in this one, I'm finding the highest. Then no, I can't think right now.
That's all right. Let's call it a day. Let's complete it. Um, I would just give you my solution for that one. Uh, so it's in the screen, not the screen though. So let me just copy it in your candidate document. Can you share your candidate document? This would be my solution for finding the second largest item. I pasted down there. Yes. Um, so the condition over there is just the else block, and if the item is greater than largest, you need to switch the largest and the second largest. This was the trick that you should have done. You can review it. You can
uh,
review it later. So
okay,
let me share my thoughts,
okay.
and so you can stop sharing your screen, and I can open my notes and make sure it is being recorded as well. Yeah. So that one goes here. Um, so I can say it's being good, really good actually. Um, we've
Yeah,
started
thank you.
we've started. Thank you for your effort, and I really want to thank you for you being here. It's not easy to speak in English that you're not native, even though you are really well. By the way, your English is really good enough.
Ah, thank you.
The first question the first question was that can you briefly describe the most significant project that you worked on your last job and what was the problem that you faced? You totally understood the question and started answering. It was customer faced banking and it was related to product statement or something. And you explained it well. And also, I extend my question for working overseas bank, and you've mentioned about cultural and language challenges while you're working. Those were just proving that you understood the question and answer it very well. And the next question was related to API side, so SWAP API and REST API. Um, you prefer REST API, you said, and you also had experiences with SWAP API, but you couldn't completely explain any better side for SWAP services. So you didn't have any idea why it would be better, what area it could be better than REST APIs. So this is also okay. Git question. So your resume, I can say, and is full of skills, but some of those that you're not on the same level with the others. You might be good in, for example, entity framework, but you are not good. I mean, in REST API or SOAP API, I could just say.
I
Um,
can scale my
Maybe, yeah, I
yeah.
am really good at that one and not good enough for that one. Maybe it is just, maybe you could just say, okay, I'm using Git for my personal project or something. Uh, but
Okay.
the good thing is that you still have ideas. What are those, and in what case you need to use it? It is really nice. So you know what Git is. You're even though you're using it for your personal project, it is really good to know what it is. But you need to do what you need to do is just use it more efficiently, even though for your project, even though you're not using it in your company, which would be really nice if you've experienced it.
You mean the Git, right?
Yeah, Git, for example.
Okay. Yes, you are
Even
right.
though you're not using it in the company in for the big project with you're not working with the team, you could create your own hypothetical problem and you could fix it by using git commands, for example. So not only commit push and pull, maybe you could just basically create pull request and fix it, or maybe you may try to merge repositories. Maybe
Yeah,
you look
and
for cherry pick command or
yeah,
something. So improve your git skills. What I would suggest. It's because it is now being used for all over the world, all over the companies around the world. um, Multi-layer question, and you explained it very well, and you explained why we are separating our layers and what those layers are mostly. And and also I ask why it is important separating our layers, and you answer it very well, just to have loosely coupled layers for reusability later, and maybe reducing the maintenance time. It's nice. And DDD question, you answer it very well. You know what DDD is. Maybe you watched my video in the
yes,
channel
and
and
read so many essays about
documents,
DDD.
right? Yeah. DDD is important. It's because it is, even though it's bringing new complexity in our project, but also it's fixing many of our project, and also its bundled context is just the context. So we need to focus on that domain. So that would mean that we can separate our teams work in different domain at the same time. They don't need to create any dependency each other or something, and it is nice. I extended my question about the pros and cons, and you answered them very well as well. And for the SQL Server, we had confusion about SQL or SQL. It's because the
Yes,
Turkish
sir.
English language switching thing. What you did wrong over here is that while still I'm asking the question, and you interrupt me, and I didn't have the chance to finish my question. Without me having to finish the question, you start answering it. This was not good, I think. So I noted over here.
In the SQL's
Yeah,
part.
I was still asking the question, and you just I was asking if you created any store procedure and if you have used any special features or something like that.
Okay.
You interrupt me
Sorry.
and started again. Okay, I use Postgres and MySQL, all are the same, you said. This was not a good, so I just suggest not to use it in real interview, not the mock one. So the output question, I gave you a piece of code that I prepared it, and I didn't use the principle and rules and the best practice in it, and I ask you to find what are those. You come with a couple of those, but not all. I would expect you would just say it's because I steered you. Actually, you were hesitated at the first place.
Yes.
You take so much time to read it, review it. Um, what I would suggest is that keep reviewing this sort of codes and try to understand what they are doing, and how I can improve it. And for example, over here, I found a couple of issue, and I asked you to do it. For example, the error handling. It would be the first thing that you've seen. Okay, this is the error handling over here is not useful. It's because it is not handling the error very well. It's not retrieving it. It is not just checking. You also, I said error handling, and you said, okay, the error handling is not right over here. But I would ask you to find the error handling problem. And we had null checking. It was really detailed, so I steered you again. And also the separation of concern. So I asked you too if you're thinking this function does only one thing. And after I said that, you just said, okay, yeah, there is more than one function that this does, so we need to separate it. This should have come from you. And this would be my, can you just, I can bring it over here. And I'm going to paste it to candidate document, but you don't need to share it. I'm like that. Yeah. Uh, I'm going to bring it over here. Yeah, just like that. You can see it in your candidate document, and now I'm sharing it with the audience. This would be my solution. So first, I would create an interface that has the function fetch bank data, and I would separate the concern. So I would have two different functions. One is just fetching the bank data and bringing it back, and the other one also getting the data by using this function, and also just doing this if condition and blah 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 thing. And I also added a throw in catch block. So even though I'm logging what the exception were, I'm also throwing the exception for who is responsible by calling this. And I also added another null check for bank data. It might be null. The bank data might be null. So it is not throwing an exception, but it might be null. And I also used datetime offset and UTC now rather than just datetime now. It is now going to give me what is the base datetime GMT 0 datetime. So I can calculate it later for the company, maybe Bank Audi and maybe Dennis Bank later. And also I am returning the data as read only, as it is not going to be changed later. It's because I prepare it by just calling another function from somewhere else, and I prepared it. This would be my implementation for that one. But I still can say that it was good enough. And as last piece of note, the highest question, and you took your time, it's okay, and you created a structure for you, for loop and variable and blah blah, and then you improved it. It was nice. And what I would suggest you maybe slightly, you would just spend more time thinking. I would have one variable and check it with the other items and then start coding. This would be even nicer. But this is also okay. You write code, wrong code, and then you improve it to make it right. But still, you didn't have the chance to complete the question for finding the second largest. I slightly changed my question. And I would say an 55% you would just pass my test if I interviewed you. So I would suggest he can be just hired for my company. For example, if I was looking for a junior developer. This is the end of the interview. Thank you again for your
Thank you,
patience.
and please accept my apology about the interruption.
No, it's not okay. It's okay. I mean, this is a mock test, so it
Yeah,
wouldn't be okay, maybe nice, not nice for the real interview. I'm just showing you yourself what you have done, what areas you can have to improve later, and it was just a mock test. If the other guys streaming us right now not saying anything, I will just end the. Actually, yeah, they are not saying anything. Thank you again for TechBuddy subscribers. I'm just talking to you guys. You need to, if you like this content, you need to click that like button. Even though you didn't like, you can just click. But also there is dislike button as well, which I really don't like. You can share your thought about this interview in the description, in the comment below. And also you can just give us an idea what sort of questions I could ask for the next time when I'm interviewing someone else. You can just share the question to me by using my email, which you can find in the channel as well. And if you are not subscribing us, I would really get sad and maybe mad. And so see you guys later. And thank you, Emirhan, again. I'll see you later on the Discord.
thank you.
See you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.